podcast, this is probably the best you've seen Debo, might be the best version of him. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from him in practice that makes you come to that conclusion?
Just his attitude, his obviously everybody knows as soon as you see him, he's in a different type of shape. Probably best shape I've seen him in since I've known him. And I know he's coming from a situation where he feels, people doubt his ability. And I think he's a dangerous player without anybody doubting him. So you put that extra doubt to him, the extra fuel to his fire, I think he's going to be a lot better.
Having him back, and how much contact did you have with him when he was kind of making his decision?
Yeah, I talk to him all the time, like literally probably once a week since he left. So we stayed in constant contact. And, so I knew it was a possibility weeks before he signed. I knew the thing that was trying to get hashed out. And, Debo's he's a businessman. I mean, he don't really need me, right, to say that. So I didn't really get involved. I just kind of listened, let his agent and the Niners work it all out. But definitely was rooting to get him back.
Near you now, as far as the locker room?
Yeah, he's right next to me.
Is that going to last into the season?
I don't think so. We both got a lot of stuff, and we need a lot of space. So.
You guys have a little apartment over there.
Yeah, we got a little condo. It's very San Francisco style too. The bedroom is the kitchen and the living room. So it's a studio. So yeah, and the scooter now is I have a joint ownership with my man. Me and Mo at the equipment room. So I let him drive it home at night. He just have it back charged for me in the morning, and so we flop it out, switch swap.
Sure. O lineman, no D lineman. There's a lot of good young D linemen that showed out Thursday night. Anybody stand out to you?
Boomer Sooner, Grayson Hall, you know it. G baby man, he's one of my obviously Oklahoma guy, so I'm always be a little biased, but I think the world kind of seeing what he has to offer. Very explosive, short area quickness, really powerful. Puts you in the mind of DJ Jones a little bit from what he had when he was here. So, he definitely impressed. I mean, Seabass had a day. I just think that D-line room going from where we were last year, where we was pretty anemic and playing guys, that literally off the practice squad, to now it's kind of one of the deepest rooms on the team and got a lot of competition. So really excited to see it.
With Halton, we see him like when he wins a one-on-one, he's not afraid to let a little emotion out, stuff like that. Yeah. What is kind of your impression of his personality? It seems like he's got some juice to him. Yeah,
I love it. He loves football. Anytime you get a player in the locker room that loves football, it makes the whole mood lighter. It just, and you appreciate people like that, especially me going into year 17, 38 years old, that enthusiasm don't really come natural no more. You got to wake up and, I got to get my engine going. So just to see the young guys coming in full of life, super excited just to play ball, I love it. It gives me a breath of fresh air.
Seems like that's a thread through the entire rookie class.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a great draft, great signings, undrafted free agent, great signings. So this rookie class definitely has the makings to be a special group and a group that'll probably contribute to this football team for a long time.
What did you think of Kobe and Willis splitting reps next to you
today? I had to go back and watch it, but, I know it's a competition. Those guys are competing. It's a three-man race, so may the best man win, but they're all playing their butts off. Obviously Carver is the youngest, and you got a little more to learn, but he has, a high ceiling, a lot of potential. So just can't wait to see how he develops.
Trent, from your perspective, when Brock first got here, his roommate was Nick Sakel, and he was sending out Christmas cards. I mean, a lot has changed, between that, then and now. How has he, just off the field, how has he handled the fame and the money and the success and all that, from your perspective?
From my perspective, he's the same Brock. Honestly, probably a little more chill. But he's the same Brock, still humble as ever, still super down to earth, still just a great teammate. you make that much money, it's kind of hard to stay the same. But and from my perspective, he has stayed the same. He's been Brock.
They're giving Carver Willis some snaps at center too. Over your career, have you been able to kind of predict maybe which incoming guys have center potential, and are there certain aspects that you need to have to play that position?
Honestly, no. I'm not. I can't tell you that I'm that talented of an evaluator, but I honestly don't even know what all you need to be a great center. It's kind of, that position is just like quarterback. It's more between the ears than it is in your body. I mean, ability-wise. So, I can't say that I know enough. I look at a tackle, sometimes a guard, but that center, that's a whole different world, and they just get judged by different criteria, and they just got so much responsibility when it comes to getting everybody going in the right direction. Even in this offense, it's him and the quarterback are in constant communication. They both is like the brain trust of the offense. So to play center in this offense, it's a lot more than just being able to snap the ball and block somebody.
How you doing?
Raheem, Thursday night, that first drive, a lot of the young guys immediately were making plays. And when you watch the film again, what stood out to you?
Basically what you just said. A lot of the young guys making plays. Duggar, making a nice tackle. On that, I think it was the third play. Right up the back, had a couple good plays. They left a couple things open, had to go correct some things, but the nerves got out the way. The guys played fast. A lot of our young guys got a chance to go out there and really play well. I know you guys seen a bunch of our draft picks, whether it be Halton, Duggar, Romello. Those guys did a couple good things. So I was really fired about those guys. Price locked down in the red zone and in a couple other areas where you see them play sticky. A bunch of guys that got a chance to go out there and really show their first time playing professional football. I was very pleased with how they went out there and competed and went out there and played with their guys and really communicated with their guys.
Sock look on film?
Just as good as he looked, that night, made a nice play in the red zone, being able to knock down a pass. And then there's other areas that you see when you're watching it, from our view of watching how sticky he was on some of the other coverage that he could have been targeted on. But he was able to deny it, or, the play goes away and quarterback progressed. So I was really pleased with how he played. And it's been really encouraging to watch his steady development throughout the whole process. You start to see it in the joint practice, and then you get a chance to get into the games and really watch it come out. So that's been one of the nice things to see.
Recent sack that got negated.
Yes.
Was it eye-opening to see just how he went right up against Skoronski? And
for me, I don't want to cut you off, but I didn't even really pay attention to who he was playing with. I was really looking for the execution of what he was doing and how he executed. I was more pleased with. I watched the guys. You call a game. They went out there and they executed it. Romello being able to, get up the field to pull the tackle, for him to work back in, for Grayson to be able to cause the penetration, to be able to get through. Really pleased with the execution of all the things that they did that way. Unfortunately, we got the tug, was there. But those things happen in National Football League. They called it, came back, and then the guys was able to stand up and then still go out there and get a stop. So very pleased with how they played, very pleased with what he was able to do. And I really wasn't in awe of who he was playing with. I was more about happy to see the execution of what the guys was able to do.
Grayson, Trent was just saying that he has like a youthful energy that helps Trent get going every day. Just what personality-wise, what have been your impressions of him?
I'm sure Trent gets more of the youthful personality than we get. We get the eager young man just trying to do the right thing, trying to listen to every little word that Kaseric says, hanging on everything, being able to deal with all the stuff that he deals with and being able to get all the signals and everything he's able to get done up front. So I'm sure Trent gets more of that personality, but he definitely has a youth personality that gives you automatic energy every single day. And a lot of our guys do. A lot of guys that were brought in here, have that demeanor, they have that leadership, those leadership qualities that we covet. And those guys are brought in here to do the same things, and they've been able to do those things really well.
The 49ers played the Rams the second time last year. The Rams used a lot of 3 tight end sets, and it was effective against the 49ers. Do you see that happening more across the league, more use of tight ends, and do defenses have to be better prepared for multiple tight end sets?
Yes, of course. Everybody does what Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay does. So everything that happens that has success, you watch Sean have it throughout the course of the season. We played him at the end of the season as well. We got a bunch of 3 tight end sets. These guys got a bunch of 3 tight end sets. So you were able to prepare for it probably a little bit more than you guys were. I'm not sure exactly when he started it, but by the time we saw it when I was in Atlanta, you had a bunch of tape of it, a lot of view of it, and now you got a lot more of it. So we actually, went to it too when we were together in Atlanta doing some of the 13 sets and things of that nature. So if it's a copycat league, like anything else, anything that has a little bit of success that people are going to do, then you certainly be able to go out there and stop it.
Worth and Jalen Graham equipped to kind of be in that role to cover tight ends?
The guys that you mentioned got great athleticism, and that's what it requires to be able to cover some of these guys that come in this league to play tight end. So all of those guys have those traits, length, the ability to have ball skills, the ability to cover people, the ability to have short space quickness. You just defined those three guys well, and that's kind of what they do. So I'm fired up to watch those guys keep developing and do some of those things for us. But it certainly creates some challenges to create those multi-positional type guys. I know we've been enamored with the fever backer, but those guys that can run, hit, do all those different things, those all covered too for us.
Coach, now that the first preseason game is behind you guys, what's the next step in the progression and making sure the defense is ready for week one?
I think it's just a day-by-day process, right? The next step for us is tomorrow's practice. I think how we've planned it here and how Kyle Shanahan and all the guys and all the coaches have gotten together and kind of planned what we want to do, taking those progressional steps to get better and better every single day, I think is what's most important. Right now we'll leave here, we'll watch today's practice, we'll be able to evaluate the things that we put in. We'll be able to go back and look at some things that we want to do better from the game. We'll be able to go in there and, pretty much, keep our similar game plans that we do when we get to the games, but we got another practice coming up versus a joint practice. See if we can go out there and have a more composed practice and play a little bit better and play faster and do some different things that we want to do. So I think it's just a steady process to get to that first game. You don't ever want to skip over a thing to get to that first game. I know the excitement gets us all, but you really want to go through the process of preparing yourself.
For the most part, the other night, you didn't have many of your starters or projected starters playing, but CJ West wasn't playing. Where is he right now in terms of just kind of the role you envision for him this year?
He's done some really good things. CJ, ultimately coming in here, let's be honest, I came in seeing a big-time run stopper and a guy that can really hold up, particularly towards the end of the season, to do some things in that nose tackle position, so to speak. And then, when I got here, I seen he had more quickness than he had when he first got here, and he's gotten better and better throughout the process. To see him, be able to spike and do different movements to get to the backfield and cause pass rush and cause disruption, whether it be our first team, second team, whatever team's out there. Watching him do those things. Had a little small setback, obviously, missing a couple of days, but he's been back out there in the mix. So, I'm really fired up to see where he goes from here and what he's able to do and how he can contribute to that line. All of those guys create such a competition right now, and that's what you want. You don't want it to be easy for us to be able to pick out a football team, and I just think they're making it harder and harder every day.
So he didn't play the other night because you feel good about where he is?
He did not play the other night. Obviously, we make all those decisions together, but ultimate decider is Kyle Shanahan, and we make those things. We got the guys out there that we need to play, get a chance to get some reps. Obviously, like we just mentioned, definitely takes in the course that he missed a little bit of time the week before and getting him ready, not putting too much on him to set them back anyway. So definitely have some factors in that as well.
Being composed, you need to talk to your guys before Tuesday about, obviously there's a lot of extra after whistle stuff with the joint practice with the Titans. There's something you got to talk to those guys about and try to get rid of before Tuesday?
No, I talk about it all the time. It's just something that we talk about just in general. And there's a certain part that you don't want to calm them down all the way. You want them to have their edge, but there's a certain amount of work that you want to be able to get done. Like what I learned from my guys is they're going to take it to the tempo that you take it to. And when it goes to that tempo, you just don't know where it's going to go. But at the same time, you want to have that composure to be able to stay out there and practice, right? We had to take 2 people out of practice the other day. You don't want to do those things, right? You want to have the ability to take it to that edge and walk that line, but be able to play the game and be able to get the stuff they want to get done. So, composure is about everything that we do in our game. So it's just one of those things. You're not worried about it at all. You just want to be able to take it to joint practices, right? We've seen these guys play a bunch of games, a lot of these guys. So, I'm not worried about that one bit. But in practice, let's use that same demeanor, that same temperament.
How do you plan on using Eberflus? He's got a lot of experience, former head coach.
Yeah, he does such a great job of being that subtle voice, really in your ear throughout the course of the game, throughout the course of the week, for preparation, just having a bunch of value and his ability to talk about tackling and tackling plan, is being able to get us done the right way, to be able to contribute with us with his third down knowledge and some of the things that he can bring to us that way. He has a bunch of knowledge from other defenses. He brings different things to it, different ideas, different thoughts. He has a wealth of knowledge across the board that we have similar people in our background that we can cross ties and talk about and do different things that we like. He's been wonderful to work with. And he's different personality than me. That's always great. The more people you have like different people, the more ways you can connect with your team and your unit. And I just think that's really helpful for us all.
Go into a little more detail about what you saw from Duggar in the game.
Duggar, saw a guy out there that looked like he belonged, number one, first and foremost. I saw a guy that showed great length, saw a guy that showed great range and speed to be able to track tackle. Saw a guy out there that was, had a couple learning things he needs to do when he can take his risk, when he can, absolutely let the trigger go. And I saw a guy that can really help himself by using some getting on and off blocks a little bit faster. Saw some good things, saw some bad things. But overall, was very pleased with the things that he was able to do and how he grew throughout the course of the game, just in his communication, coming to the sideline, whether it was a mistake or whether it's him explaining exactly what he did, if it was right. Those guys, I think all that stuff is important when you're learning players and you're learning new guys. And for me, it was important to learn from everybody, so it was great to see our young guys go out there and be able to do that and communicate at a high level.
How does it seem like he's absorbing the multiple roles that you're asking him to do?
I think he's done such a wonderful job at that. I think is being able to separate one day, being able to practice with a D-line, one day being able to practice at a stand-up linebacker, one day being able to practice from the move around positions. I just think he's done such a great job. Him and Romello both. Got to give those guys a lot of credit. Got to give the coaches a lot of credit for the detail they've been able to pour into him, whether it's been KJ, whether it's been Greg Scruggs, whether it's been Kasarik, whether it's been all of those guys, Johnny Holland, all hands on deck type mentality, Angel Matute. I can't say enough about what the guys are putting to these guys.
Paulo got the start at Mike. Do you want to see different guys throughout the preseason? Starting at Mike and Will and those.
Certainly, you've kind of seen it in practice. We've had Wallow be able to go to Mike. We've had Tatum be able to go to Mike. We've seen Jalen Graham a little bit at Mike. Obviously, Fred. There's been a bunch of different guys that can go, control the defensive handling. I was really pleased with that from both of those guys the night before. I mean, the night, whatever it was, it felt like 3 months ago at this point. But I was really pleased with those guys and how they handled the huddle. Very few busts. The communication was great. The way those guys went out and executed and the way they took corrections is probably a bigger thing than to leave out.
Experience with younger linebackers is over pursuit or running themselves out of place. Is that common from what you've seen? And what is your coach?
Younger linebackers? I think it's more excitement of the first game. We actually did that last night. We ran to the play and 6 people hit him and other 6 hit the other guy off and let the guy bounce out and get a 35-yard gain. But a lot of that is like the excitement of being out there. I know you guys were excited just like those guys, and some of that stuff will happen as you calm down and you get to play and your pursuit cleans up and how you go about your business. But I've been really pleased in how we've gone about our business throughout the course of the week and how we practice and how we pursue and how we close angles and do different things. So I'm really fired up with that.
Coaching point, though, basically calm down and just
do your job first and foremost. And then, they're excited. Let's get a bunch of coaches that get these guys riled up. Everybody wants an assist. You got to get to the rock.
Yeah, pretty good read on the secondary by now. But with Justin Herbert, what kind of challenges is he going to present on Tuesday?
Oh, Justin's one of the better quarterbacks in this league, premier quarterback. I think that provides more fun for me than a challenge right now. Let's go up against the really good quarterbacks in this league. We get a chance to see good one every 2 good ones that we know of in our own building. But it's nice to go see other guys and really put ourselves to the test to see how we're going to react to those guys as well.
A lot has changed in the past year for you. How nice is it to have, obviously you don't excel in the NFL or say I've made it, but, at least a little bit of job security, a little bit more money?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big change from last year. This is really my first going into camp where, I'm not scratching and clawing in the fourth quarter of the preseason games and stuff, and just trying to make those last spots in the roster. So it feels good, having a little bit of security. Sign a year-long lease on a house and do stuff like that. But I'm really just trying to pick up where I left off from last year. So yeah.
Do you have to guard against exhaling?
I think Cam does a good job, and George also, and the whole room does a really good job of, keeping each other accountable. anyone feels like someone in the room is slacking, and there's really just a high standard. So, the guys don't really let stuff like that happen. So.
I mean, it's a pretty familiar room. There's not a lot of new guys
Yeah.
that I brought in to commit. So what's just that like, knowing that you're all kind of the same group right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's great when you can have continuity, especially, some chemistry out there on the field, and you can really trust what the guy next to you is telling you, like who you guys are working to, who you guys are blocking. Maybe if you don't know a route, asking the guy next to you. So it's great having that continuity, so you can just really trust the guys out there. So.
George living vicariously through you guys through this?
Yeah, I mean, he's getting antsy, obviously, and he's doing a great job with his approaching his recovery and stuff like that. So looking forward to getting him out there eventually. So.
Cam brought to the room for you guys, new coach.
Yeah, I mean, Cam has been great this whole time. He obviously has an offensive line background, so he brings a lot in that regard in terms of run blocking technique and stuff, and kind of explaining the run plays, why we're doing this, why we're doing that. So really, I mean, it's been nice to have that perspective in the room. So he's just been great all the way through, keeping us after practice, making sure like our hand placement is good. We're running our feet through blocks and stuff like that. So it's been a great experience so far.
Was there a time when you questioned what your future in the NFL would look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the start, I was kind of just grateful for every opportunity and put my best foot forward. And I think coming out, obviously that first year is, I think, the hardest year to kind of stick around, because you have so many undrafted guys come in. I think we had I was in Chicago, we must have had 10 or 15 guys come in, and I think there was only, there was 2 or 3 who made the team and stuff like that. So really it's about getting, a lot of playing time in that first preseason and kind of establishing yourself so that you have film. So if something happens, you get cut, you get released with injury settlement, other teams have stuff to look at when they're thinking about signing you. So I think making it through that first year is the most important part.
When you look back on last year, just what did that touchdown catch in Seattle in week 1 do for you in terms of your confidence and just kind of putting you on the map for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it gave me a ton of confidence, obviously, and I think even more importantly, it gave the coaches the confidence that I could do it in a real game, right? I mean, I feel like I'd been excelling in practice, catching the ball up until that point, but there's a whole different level of trust that happens, going into a game and giving you routes in a game where you're the first read and stuff like that. So I think it was important in gaining the trust of the coaches and the organization, and it really just propelled me forward, all through last year.
You got Brock's trust?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely got a little bit of Brock's trust. And, up until that point, I wasn't really working with, the ones in training camp. I was working with the 2s and the 3s. So we hadn't really, established that chemistry yet. And I think throughout the year, he felt more and more comfortable with me, even just checking the ball down, knowing I'm going to be there and, split 2 and get vertical and get a first down. So it's been great this camp, running with the ones and getting more opportunities to, run around with Brock and those guys. So it's been good.
Now that your role has changed, how do you look at next week and another joint practice, and how do you kind of gear yourself up for the regular season?
I mean, it's really just approaching every day, it's a game. And those joint practices are really good, kind of practice games. As the competition's up, you're getting a ton of plays in, you're getting long drives in. And I really think you just have to take advantage of all of those opportunities, whenever you're going against someone else, because you never know how much you're going to play in the preseason game, and they want to see other guys play and stuff like that. So I think the joint practices are extremely important in getting ready for the season.
Touchdown in Seattle, Brock really kind of just threw that up. I mean, did that surprise you in the moment? This is he actually.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure if he was throwing it away, but I know, Brock's got a little bit of a gunslinger mentality. He'll make some throws. I remember I was running a shallow cross away in the playoff game, and he threw it across the field. So you always have to keep your, awareness up when you're in there with Brock, because he can scramble out of the pocket, make guys miss, and he's, not afraid to try and fit it in there. So.
Did he tell you he was trying to throw it away, or
No, he was not trying to throw it away, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, I think that when he threw it, I was behind the defender, and it didn't look very, promising. But you just got to try and come up, big in those moments. So.
You obviously you did other things besides that touchdown in Seattle last year, but it's obviously such a big moment. And which on the map and all that. I assume when you meet fans or whoever, you're like, oh yeah, touchdown in Seattle. Do you ever get tired of discussing this?
Yeah, I mean, it's either the touchdown in Seattle or some fantasy waiver wire stuff or whatever, or some, first touchdown betting line or something like that they're telling me about. But it is usually Seattle or some fantasy like playoff stuff. So, I mean, I don't get tired of it. I think it's, great when people, either recognize me or appreciate the play or, it was really a turning point in my career. So I appreciate when people, bring it up and, say congratulations and stuff like that. So.
If you weren't playing football, would you have a backup plan, or is this like the...
I mean, obviously I grew up in Silicon Valley. A lot of my friends are up in San Francisco working in tech right now, so I'm sure I would do something along those lines.
Was that the first preseason game that you haven't played in a while?
Yeah, that was the first one I haven't played in, so that was definitely kind of a full circle moment. And, I think it was like last year in the Raiders game, I was, 2-minute drive in the fourth quarter. I was out there mixing it up. So it's really been a big, switch up. And, obviously I appreciate the whole journey and, how it's been. So
You set up Eddie Pinero's field goal in Vegas, did you not?
I think that was Jake Moody's field goal back in the day. Yeah. There you go.
A lot of teams are 3 tight ends. We talk about it. We just talked to Raheem about it. Do you guys talk about it in the tight end room and how you guys want to make sure that you're a part of that movement in the league?
Yeah, I think that I think we certainly have the guys to do it. I think we run a lot of 22 with Juice, which is Juice does a lot of stuff that the tight ends do. I would say more so than, but he's called a fullback. So we really are in that 13 more than people think. It's just labeled 22. But, we have the guys to do it. We have guys who can play, Y, F, and Z, move around, motion, block on the edge, block in line. So I definitely think we're going to be a part of that movement and just got to keep showing the coaches in practice that, we can be efficient in that personnel.